Here with Concordia head men's soccer coach Jason Weides to preview the 2023 season. Quickly moving towards the first official game as we record this. Wanted to mention that last year's team obviously had a really fun season, winning a GPAC tournament title. What kind of energy what has that done to maybe the energy level as you start a new year, and is there anything that's noticeable when you come off kind of a season like that?
Yeah, I think it obviously there's a lot of excitement about what this year can be, but also just think it helps elevate expectations, and that's the challenge, right? To do something like that once is hard, but then to go back and do something again and achieve things in a season is even harder. And so now that's the big task for us, and I think that's really elevated the expectation level, and we see that amongst our returners, but also the newcomers. They want to be a part of something special too.
This 2023 team obviously trying to define who it is now, which every team is a little bit different. What was the message that you maybe wanted to get across as guys were coming back to campus this year?
We try to really simplify the message and say we want to go further, and that's not easy, and we're not expecting that that's just a simple straight path. There's going to be a lot of challenges along the way, and both internal and external challenges, but that's really it. We want to go further. We don't want to just try to equal what we did. We want to go further in every aspect, and that's a really challenging thing to both say and then try to go achieve, but that's been our mantra really since the spring, and we're living that out this fall so far too.
Every year you're always going to replace guys that were good players on the previous team. What makes you confident that you're ready to replace some of the first team all-conference guys that you lost from last season?
Yeah, you're right. You never exactly replace them, right? You have different skill sets, different personnel, and we had some really good players that graduated, and they'll certainly be missed. But that happens every year. You lose good players, and you move on, and you bring in new players, and we see that we really try to develop players. I think we've got our returners have really developed. Some guys have really come along nicely. Some guys had the best springs they've ever had, or taken monumental steps forward this past spring with returners. And so some of these guys are better prepared to take on bigger roles than they've ever had before. And then some returners, and we have a decent size, newcomers. We've got a decent size recruiting class. And so far in preseason, it's really promising about who they are and their preparedness to step in right away and help the team. And whether that's a guy who can step in from day one and start or play significant minutes, or whether that's a guy that can contribute or a guy that can develop into that, we see a lot of opportunity within this newcomer class they're increasing the competition level. And so the reality is I think we have more competition for spots than we had last year. And that's a good problem to have, and it's been a promising preseason so far because of that. But yeah, it would be different faces, different names. We'll have to do things a little differently because you're never replacing like for like. Sometimes it's just we hope to get as much talent on our roster and cultivate that talent to become a championship mentality, and that's I feel like the guys are doing a great job of taking steps forward so far early in this preseason.
At the same time, it's not like you don't have a lot of veteran players too. You've got some guys who have started 2 or 3 years in the program, and a few guys that are back for a 5th year of college soccer. But what can you say maybe about the leadership of some of those guys that have been around for a while?
They've done a great job, honestly, so far, both this past spring, I think that was cultivating it, and then this fall so far in the first week-ish, they've done a great job of leading the team, and really excited to see that leadership develop even further, because that was a big question mark for us. I mean, beyond losing good players, we lost a lot of very impactful and significant leaders, and some of those leaders played and started, and some of those leaders didn't play as much, but really good leaders from last year graduated. And so that was a big question mark. Who's going to step up? Who's going to assume new roles? How are we going to be as leaders? And so far, a lot of great guys are stepping up and doing that. We've got one returning captain, Iker Casanova, and selected Isaiah Shattuck as another captain. And Isaiah being a fifth-year guy, loads of experience, but we've got a lot of guys beyond that are already showing that they're really good leaders for us, and even some of those guys are young guys that will have, maybe they don't have the formal title of captain, but they're going to be really great leaders for us. I think our captains are doing a great job of empowering these other leaders as well.
Just along those lines, I was going to ask about Isaiah and Matt Schultz. This is their 5th year inside the program. What can you say about how they've evolved and just the excitement about having them still around the program?
Yeah, we were buzzing when they both said yes, and it was great that it was a bit of a package deal we did, and they both said yes to come back for their 5th year. They've obviously made significant impacts on our program and continue to evolve as players. I was joking with Izzy the other day, if we could face off 1v1 with his freshman self versus himself now as a 5th-year player, 5th-year Izzy would just demolish freshman Izzy. But freshman Izzy was a player for us. He started and he played, and this, I think the same is case is with Matt. And so they've really just evolved as players, as leaders, as teammates, as people. But it was really exciting when they came back, and they've been a really important part of what we're doing so far, and I think will be big parts of this season for sure.
I think one of the keys last year, you were able to really maybe continue to defend well, but also put away more goals that helped in some of those close games. How do you see things coming along? I know you do have to replace your top goal scorer from last year, so how do you kind of make up for some of that?
It'll be interesting, I think, to see who emerges as the guy who might be able to, score 10, 15, 20 goals. That has yet to be determined. I think we've got some guys that are capable of that. I wouldn't be surprised if this year's a goal scoring by committee too, and we have 5 guys with 8+ goals, and that would still be really good for us if we did that. So that's yet to be determined of how we're going to score the goals and who's going to do it. But I think I'm confident so far in this first week that I think we'll have the ability to score goals, and it just could come from a wide variety of sources this year. But who knows? It could be one guy ends up scoring 15+. I think that's just yet to be seen. Defensively, I expect us to be strong again defensively. We certainly have some personal changes with losing our captain and center back, who was honorable mention All-American, who did a great job in that. But ultimately, we've got guys prepared and ready to fill in, and we've got a good goalkeeper crew again with some returning some good quality and some good experience too. So it'll be interesting to see how it all develops.
Mm-hmm. Well, if my math is correct, I think you had 9 games last year that you won by 1 goal. Of course, you had the memorable GPAC championship game where you come back and force a PK shootout to win it there. What do you feel like is maybe healthy inside the program that has allowed you to excel in those type of moments?
I think it's developing grit, mental strength, perseverance, and I think that we've been obviously as a coaching staff intentional in trying to develop that, but I think our guys have really taken that aboard and have really challenged themselves individually and collectively to hold each other accountable and focus on what we can control and focus on positive responses to things, even if it's setbacks, because the reality is we're going to have setbacks this year. We don't know exactly where it's going to come from and when it's going to happen, but we'll have setbacks, and that might be a goal, that might be a result, that might be an injury, that might be it could be a million different things, and we just got to focus on embracing that challenge, that new challenge that's faced us, and realize the path isn't always straight to where we're going, but we can still get there, or we've got to figure out a different path or something like that. But this team, I think, has really developed a true championship culture. The reality is, when you have a championship culture, you don't necessarily win everything, but at the core, to win things, you've got to have that championship culture. And these guys are doing a great job of both creating that and then passing it on, right? Our newcomers, they're seeing it from day one, what a championship culture looks like, and it's just hopefully now a part of our DNA.
You mentioned kind of the idea of going farther, and you got a taste of a lot of guys got a taste of the national tournament last year and playing in a GPAC championship game. What does that do to expectations right now, and just what would it mean maybe to even win a GPAC regular season title? Because I think that's something some guys have mentioned too.
Yeah, that regular season title's been elusive. We've been close several times, but haven't quite done that, finishing second a few times. And that'd be huge. I mean, honestly, it's something that we want to constantly set the bar higher and do first for the program history, and that would be a first. So we definitely want to accomplish that. And, being at the national tournament, I think now we got a lot of returners who just know what all the sights and sounds feel like. They know what the travel looks like, though you might be traveling somewhere different. They understand the rhythm of it and what it takes to go deep into November. And I just think that experience, that pays off, and I think we'll be just that much better prepared if we're able to get there again this upcoming year to succeed and go past that first round, which is, again, we want to go further.
About some questions that aren't necessarily about soccer, but what was maybe the most fun thing you did during this summer?
Me personally?
Yeah.
Brother-in-law got married in Chicago, and so the whole family went up there, and we went up early. We're there for a week and experienced all the sights and sounds of Chicago, and had a really fun celebration with the wedding and wedding reception. And Chicago is a little different than Seward, and so we got to experience. Got to experience the big city, and it's fun to be there for a bit. So that was exciting for us.
You got a Cubs game in too, right?
We actually were able to. They had a upper deck golf was at Wrigley Field, and we got to do basically a driving competition and chipping and putting or chipping competition from Wrigley, from the upper deck. So I got to play golf in Wrigley this summer, which is a pretty unique experience.
Who's maybe a coach that you've really admired, that you've tried to take insight from or take after in your own experiences?
Yeah, it's tough to honestly identify just one, because I think we're constantly trying to absorb and learn from all those people around us. I mean, no doubt there's plenty of coaches here at Concordia, both past and present, that have influenced and shaped me as a coach, that I take something from, and I feel like have made me better. The reality is, my wife has been influential in me developing as a leader and as a coach. And but there's some, I think, key soccer guys that I look to, and Anderson Dorrance is just on the women's soccer side. There's probably, you could argue, no one better. He's won so many national championships, and I've heard him speak at a coaching convention before, and I just really like some of his philosophies and what he does. But there's the list is pretty long. I just feel like that there is no perfect leader, but there's something that we can all take from others, and really cultivate who we are as leaders and coaches, and try to lead within ourselves.
You might be one of the few people here that knows what it's like to be coached by Devin Smith. What was that like?
Hey, it's been a few days ago since that happened. It was a freshman in 1998. So, it was fun. It's been interesting. Obviously knowing Devin for such a long time, and knowing him in a different capacity now as athletic director. But when I first met him, he was a soccer coach, and he really had us in shape and fit. We ran a lot of hills. We really knew what every blade of grass looked like on those hills here at Concordia. And he had us competing. He really had I think he laid some of those foundations for what I see us as a coach now. Just regardless of whatever your talent is and your team is, you've got to be competitors. And I think he really instilled that in us as players. But it's been fun. We joke around sometimes about whether him as a coach or me as a player, and then he jokes that he's got a good record against some of the teams that he coached against versus what I have, and it's good banter.
I think was Chris Luther coaching at that time?
He was.
You beat him at least once. Yeah.
We did. Yeah. Coached against Luther, and actually I was a player probably against Luther too. So there's a lot of history.
Small world.
It is.
Yeah.